Okay, guess what? It's 2010. You gotta check your email every day. If you want to be called by reporters, you gotta check your email. It's just the way it is. Reporters remember who gave them a good quote. We also remember who responded in a timely way. You've got to be responsive. Now, so then you get a call and you're a little nervous because you're new at this. What's it okay for you to ask? I think one, you should ask what the story is about. I think even if the reporter starts in with asking you a fact, it's totally legit to say, what's this big picture? What's the story about? Ask about the news organization if you don't know it. I was once I agreed to be on a radio show. I didn't discover till a live radio show that I was on basically the Howard Stern equivalent of Philadelphia. And it was about a story I did about allegations of discrimination against Asian Americans in admissions. And the way I found out is his first question was, so basically, if the colleges let in too many Asians, the campuses would be boring, right? That was the first question. And so I spent basically 15 minutes dodging racial stereotypes. It would have been better had I done my homework and knew what I was getting into. It's okay to ask a reporter, can I have 5 minutes to organize my thoughts, and I'll call you back. But if you do that, call back in 5 minutes. It's okay to go off the record or not for attribution, but define your terms. Dirty little secret of journalism, we don't know what we mean when we say off the record. So, define your terms. Say, if you want to be quoted as an expert on but not your name, say that. If you want to be quoted as a professor at NYU but not your name, say that. If you don't want to be quoted at all, say that. Define your terms before you start talking. Once you start talking, you're talking, and it's on the record. Okay, figure out what the reporter knows. These days, the press is in terrible shape, so you might get an experienced education reporter, you might get somebody who knows nothing about what they're writing about. Ask a few questions to politely find out. So is this your beat regularly? Find out so that you know how much background to give. Then give the background, but give it in a non-snobby way. You know way more than I do as a journalist, but try not to insult me, is basically what I'm saying. Think about, you're at Thanksgiving dinner, and your aunt, who you like but doesn't have a PhD, asks you a question. How are you going to answer your aunt? You're going to try to be nice about it, but recognize that she doesn't have a PhD that you do. Background. You've got to be current. So your aunt asks you, what's this about No Child Left Behind and why people don't like it? Your first sentence cannot be, America has been conflicted since colonial days about blah, blah, blah. You've got to get to the point. Now, the other thing you do is reverse the way you give papers here. A journalist attending a scholarly meeting, it just drives me crazy because I go to sessions and they do the review of the literature and the way they set up the research, and they're just getting the good stuff and then somebody yanks them off the stage. You've got to do the opposite. It's abstract findings, and then the section you don't even include here, why it matters. Here's another way to drive a journalist crazy. If I go up and say, so why does it matter? And you say, well, that's a topic for future research. Okay? You just disappeared from my Rolodex. But that is the common answer. So you want to go abstract findings, why it matters. And don't be afraid of saying, and therefore, I've been doing this research, and so it has me thinking about race to the top. Or it has me rethinking charter schools, or college admissions, or whatever it is. Say it. Jargon. Jargon is really problematic. When Paul read the title of this year's annual meeting, I don't know what that means. Ecology? What, is it going to the environmental sciences meeting? I don't know what that means. You need to rethink the way you communicate ideas. Pedagogy, words that here seem simple. Pedagogy, no one knows what that means. Socioeconomic disadvantage and the classroom. Well, why don't you tell me that this is about how poor kids get screwed? That I understand. And I think you've got to do that. Statistics, okay, another journalist confession. Okay, so I'm reading one of your really good papers, and as soon as I see the first Greek letter, I'm like, oh gosh. Okay, I don't know how to do a regression analysis, I confess. I actually think journalists should take statistics rather than struggling through calculus, but I can't do that over quite yet. So think about how you present statistics. A competent journalist does understand percentages. So usually when I'm looking at that stuff, that it can be translated, and some do, to say, and therefore X%, or it's twice as much, or whatever. We need that if you want your research to go out there. So, how to get attention. So I've told you sort of what to say, how to get attention. Make your website current, and not just scholarly. So, let's say you have, and then say, I recognize you have multiple agendas here. So you need to say for your website what courses you teach, what your areas of research are. So then add a section, public policy issues I can talk about, and say them in English. Because then you might come up on a Google search. 2, tell your PR offices what you're up to and ask them to pitch. Tell your president what you're doing. I have, on days that I'm in DC, I have between 1 and 2 college presidents a day come to tell me how wonderful they are